this everything I've ever wanted? Well, let's start from day one, and I'll tell you how I ended up here, making this video you're watching right now. It all started in Brooklyn, New York. A young Peach was born on April 19, 2001. My last name is Persic, and in Russian it means peach. My mom is from Russia and my dad is from Uruguay. From day one, my parents always spoke to me in 3 languages, English, Russian, and Spanish. So it was fate that I would be trilingual.
Yeah, ella habla español and ruso. She speaks Russian and español. Perfecto. Right, honey?
Up until the age 7, I remember never being shy. Wherever we went, I always wanted to be seen. I loved dressing up and always putting on a show for people. I also kept myself busy growing up through arts and crafts, creating friendship bracelets and collecting lots of squishies. Yes, I mean lots of squishies. When I was about 8 years old, my parents decided to upgrade from a Dell to an Apple computer, which is where I discovered iMovie and got a first glimpse on how to use a camera. Learning all the intricate parts of angles and the sea of editing, I started making iMovies for my family to watch. Every week I would make new videos and get such a kick out of it. When I was 9, I went to Uruguay with my parents for the first time.
We're in Uruguay and we're really happy to be here.
Since my dad is from there, we love visiting.
Estamos en Punta del Este aquí.
This was also my first time seeing South America. I remember it being such a culture shock that everyone spoke Spanish around me.
¿Habla español? Un poquito.
Seeing where my dad grew up made me appreciate this place even more than I already do today.
Hi everybody, we're gonna go in Punta del Este right now.
When I was about 11, I knew I wanted to be an actress, just like any little girl's dream. I was so fascinated with this job that my parents even took me to a casting agency. They wanted to get me in for a small fortune. I remember vividly being excited and naive at the time because I thought it was my big break. After my parents declined the offer to pay, I remember the words the guy said engraved in my head. The only person who will be losing out is her. At age 12, I made my first YouTube channel, and I really wish I had the videos, but sadly I took my channel down. But I still can't delete my old Twitter account though, so if you're watching this Twitter, thank you. Middle school was one of the hardest chapters for me because I got bullied. I got spit on. I remember even a girl poured water on my head. I couldn't comprehend why and still won't, but kids can be cruel. Not to mention my acne was also at its worst. Entering into high school, I just tried to keep my head down and to not relive middle school. My only desire was wanting to fit in, followed the guidelines for success by societal standards. Clubs, sports, you name it. Then year 16 hit. Depression. A hard word to come forward with at that age. I didn't even know I was depressed, but I had no friends. People always told me I asked too many questions. I was weird. I subconsciously was anxious about being social because people would say I talked too much. It was hard to start new in a small town where everyone knows each other. I felt so lost. I thought doing all of these different activities to get involved would make me feel accepted. That was until I went to Europe with my parents for the first time. The best experiences are the ones you don't expect. You don't see coming. They just occur. Towards the last few days of my trip, I met people on the cruise who did not speak my native tongue, yet still tried communicating with me. I was so used to this small bubble of locals in my area. Granted, New York is one of the most diverse cities, but it didn't seem that way in my eyes. I couldn't really empathize and understand other people's customs. Well, because I never really had the chance to experience them. It was a burst of new cultures, and the best part was no one knew my name. I wasn't tied down to any labels, and I could just be me. I met people my own age from around the world. Spain, Norway, Italy, and Germany. And granted, I took Spanish in school for so many years, you would think I would have been proficient by now, but I wasn't. However, I pieced whatever I can remember in my brain, scratching the surface if you will, and tried my best to speak with whatever I remembered. After this short-lived encounter, I had an epiphany I never thought I would have that would take me right out of my depression. From that day on, I didn't need a pen and paper to learn Spanish, but just a WhatsApp account and keeping in touch with them almost every single day for 3 years. Fast forward, I came back to New York with a new mindset and even a video about my passion. I I didn't have a care in the world. It was such a powerful feeling. I improved on my Russian speaking abilities and my Spanish was only getting better. I realized languages just allowed me to live a life with a new meaning. Knowing another language unlocks a key to experiencing a culture through a new lens. Being from America, languages are not as heavily emphasized because geographically speaking, if you were to move to another state, you have to know English, versus if you were to move to Europe, you would have to speak the language of the country. But then, I got sidetracked. I thought temporary friends and high school parties would fill the empty void in my heart, but I realized I was in a different wavelength than everyone else. Fast forward to year 18. The only thing I really cared about was going to parties and having a boyfriend. My dreams creeped up on me at night with just me and my thoughts. But I shut them away and I knew I was going to college, so I didn't see a point in starting a YouTube channel. My acting career wasn't going anywhere because you needed connections. I began my first semester of college thinking that everything works out. I partied almost every weekend, not thinking about the consequences it would have on my permanent GPA or my future. I just wanted to live in the moment. I thought that I'd be able to fix everything before the semester ends. And then that's when I received my first transcript, with a 2.5 GPA. I tried persuading professors to change my grades because it was my first semester and I had a hard time adjusting. But what I really realized is that as much as we want life to fit in a cookie cutter, it doesn't, and it never will. I also gained 15 pounds during this process with the commute and an unhealthy lifestyle. I was a mess and life was going by way too fast to slow down. I went into 2020 hopeful of the future and oblivious to what would occur just 2 months later. On January 11th, 2020, I filmed a video about Uruguay documenting my experience. The last time I was there was over 10 years ago. It was a long-awaited trip. Going to South America just opened my eyes even more to seeing how much I love capturing these moments on film. It brought me satisfaction to see how our world is so small and seeing how peaceful life was there. The lifestyle was a polar opposite to what I was used to. Working was not the goal, happiness was. After coming back from this trip, I stored my camera away, not even having the desire to take the SD card out of the camera, because I thought to myself, what was the point of it? Just to take it out and let it sit on my desk? I told myself I'll just edit the video tomorrow, but the semester began a week later, so I just used that as my scapegoat to why I couldn't edit this 2-minute video. Then COVID happened. I remember COVID just being news in Europe, not knowing the severity of it ever reaching the States, let alone the entire world. I didn't see any of my friends for months. All of those school friends became memories, and those who wanted to stay in touch did. In just those few weeks, I realized what really matters the most. I became closer with my parents more than ever, living under the same roof for more than 24 hours at a time. We didn't leave the house, only to the grocery store. It was something we weren't used to. Being from New York, life is a lot more fast-paced. You feel left out if you're not working, and you almost feel guilty not being productive for just more than a few days at a time. The first weeks were spent binging Netflix shows. How does one cope with barely having any sleep to now having all the time in the world? They don't. Everyone has goals that they postpone when they will have time. But when the opportunity is presented, the door quickly shuts, and not on its own, but slowly when you push it closed. I finally had a chance to finally learn how to shuffle and do all these activities I wanted, but my mind didn't receive the signals from my heart. The hard part was applying everything I felt, and the doubts clouded my head before the aspirations. Spring creeped around the corner, which meant that I could finally enjoy the nice weather instead of being locked indoors. I spent almost every day running, working out, working at my minimum wage job just to keep my mind busy. And when I couldn't fall asleep at night, my dreams screamed at me in my head, begging to be pursued. But it was hard to take the first step. The doubts and the failures told me things won't work out. And I knew it was too late to start. I was already old. Canceled? I haven't even started. My 19th birthday was spent in quarantine. Sheesh. I didn't even know what that word meant before the pandemic, and I didn't feel the special zing I do every year. It was just another year, April 19th. 19 is my favorite number, so I was hoping that this would be my last chance to try. It was now or never. I'm 19 on the 19th, and I need to start a channel. But every time the idea repeated, it slowly distanced when the thought of going out came along. Originally, my plan was to start my channel on April 19, 2019. I know, I'm crazy with this number for some reason. Summer 2020 was different from any other summer. I didn't go out, I stayed home and worked. Once the summer ended, my heart tightened and I clenched my teeth, mourning for the semester to start. But I always questioned why I felt this way. Was it the thought of school? Impossible, because if I actually wanted to study, I could. I mean, I had the capacity to do it and never had a problem to do it up until this point. Or was it because I was pursuing a career I had no interest in? I always thought to myself, is this what I want to do for the next 40 years? Well, it's a safe option, so why not? 1 month into my sophomore year, I finally looked at the footage I shot 10 months ago in January. It felt like a new energy drink that I just discovered. I never felt so excited to create something new that I was genuinely interested in. And slowly I started other videos, and now we're here. It's my 20th birthday and I realized everything I've been waiting for. A boyfriend, a purpose had been answered. These things were not important but only came with time. I'm excited for what this year has to come and want to put forth ideas because I can look back and see that I've done something I'm proud of rather than sitting for hours and going down an Instagram rabbit hole with comparing my life to others. Because the reality is, everyone's life is different and you get to choose what you do. Others might sway you, but you're in control of your life. And I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my 12-year-old self who had a dream with no intentions to stop. So welcome to this long-awaited journey into my 20s. Stick around for more adventures with the Crazy Peach. And so I'll leave you some food for thought. If money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing right now?
Another guy looking for the perfect lover, the kind of love you only see in a novel. I wasn't waiting for sunshine, a unicorn.